Hey famous warrior, welcome back to our channel. This is our space to be encouraged and challenged as we face the fight of life. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, remember to do that. Hit the notification bell so that you will know every time we put up a new video. Today, I have a treat. I have one of my very good friends. I'm not sure how long I've known you, Wankumbu, but it's been for a long time. And she's here to share her story of fighting through divorce. And before we start, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to be interrogated.
I like that.
Yes, thank you for agreeing to be to sit here with me and to have this conversation. I hope that it will bless the people that are watching now and for many years to come.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure.
So just to kind of ease us into the conversation, tell us about yourself in 5 sentences.
Only 5 sentences?
Only 5. Just 5.
Okay, let's see. Wankumbu is what year is this? I need to count the number of years. Let's see.
2022.
43-year-old lady.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Kitwe.
Okay.
Yep, I'm the second born of 5 kids.
Okay.
Dad had 4 girls and a boy.
Wow, nice.
Yes, so I come from a family full of girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up on the Copper Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Then came to work from Lusaka.
Okay.
Yes.
When?
That should have been 2003.
Okay.
That's when I came to Lusaka.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been here for like 20 years plus. Just
Ooh,
over 20.
already?
Yes.
This is 19 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I've been in Lusaka for 19 years.
Wow, girl.
Yes. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's simply me.
Okay.
Yeah, just simply me. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your journey through divorce, from marriage, all the way leading up to when you made the decision to end the marriage.
Right.
But factor in how you dealt with, when people are getting divorced, they always think about the kids. No, let me stay for the kids, or let me stay for the financial stability, or let me stay because of, what the family will say, or comfort for whatever reason. So try and add to your response how you navigated some of those things to finally make the decision like, okay, this is the best thing for me, and the best thing for me is to end the marriage.
All right. Okay. Let's see. I got married when I was 26.
Okay.
If I'm correct, it's 24, 26.
Somewhere
Should have been 26.
Okay.
I do think I married quite young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I probably would have needed a bit more time because I hadn't yet really discovered myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So got married at 26. We used to go together at school. We were friends. We were buddies. You know. So during the period, of course, when we were at school, we got to know each other. So by the time we got married, it was almost like natural. I was married. We were married. We were married from I think 2005 until 2017. That's when the divorce was finalized. Okay. So we were basically married during that period. Within that period, we had 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 beautiful kids. I've got good genes,
Yes, you do. Like, I have to hand that to you. You do.
I mean, hello, we got Johnson baby of the year. What? I remember those. Yeah, no, so the divorce, by the time I think we're reaching the stage where it was inevitable that we got divorced, I'd taken quite a bit of processing. As you said, I needed to kind of think, okay, I'm no longer going to be married, you know. It was a scary thought because I knew that sort of like life, you know. I couldn't imagine not being married.
Yeah.
So just the thought actually was enough to make me think twice about it.
Right.
And just the fact that you find that when you're in different situations, pretty social situations, there kind of seems to be like, you're married, and this person's wife, and this person's wife. So that kind of also brought that, you know, I'm someone.
Yeah.
You know, so
it attached to your identity. So
yes, actually, my identity was so much in my marriage.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's like my marriage made me. My marriage dictated to me who I was becoming,
right,
what things I would like.
Right.
You know, it was all about the other person, what, and you kind of forget a lot about yourself. And remember, I'd mentioned that I don't think at 26 I really knew myself enough to say this is who I am,
right,
and this is what I should be, it's what I should do.
Yeah.
So I know you're always talking about purpose. I doubt highly I even understood that. that existed, you know.
Right.
I didn't know it for myself.
Right.
So it was easy for me to become someone else. So I think that was what happened during the whole phase of my marriage. So what made me actually get to the point where I accepted the fact that, okay, I am getting divorced, was the fact that I also just needed to get back to that identity and give myself the attention, because I literally had lost track of who I was. I remembered the person I was before I got married. It was a completely different person from who I'd become.
Right.
I knew I was going to change, right? But I should have changed to fit who I was. So I had to kind of backtrack. So even the time, like when the divorce happened, it was all now about trying to pick myself up, you know, getting to know myself more. I did not know what music
really?
I liked. You know, like, okay, like in the car you'll be driving, you know, with your significant other, and then all the music is literally his, like, you know. So you find that you're listening to whatever he listens to. Okay, and it like becomes yours. So for me, it was now stepping back and saying, what do I like? Right. What food do I like? Right. Because remember, I have kids as
now
well.
For the husband and your kids, and you forget what you even want for yourself.
Exactly. So you find that even for the kids, you know, you're so focused on what are the kids going to eat? What will they eat? Because you know how kids are, they're picky with their food, you know. So you don't want to cook something and then people don't eat. So you're now thinking more of what am I going to cook that's what they can eat. You know, so so I think it was just getting back and realizing that I needed to find myself. That's what really brought it down. Okay. To my world.
So what practical things did you do and have you continued to do to get back in touch with yourself?
One of the things I would say is sometimes sitting and actually thinking, like thinking deeply about some of the things that I do and why I do them. So even before I do something or I make a decision, I found that sometimes I need to sit down and I ask myself, is this what I want to do? Is this the way I want it to be? So that when I do make that step to go in a certain direction, I'm at least trying to be a bit true to myself. Right. Yeah. So subconsciously, probably I've been doing more of that. So I spend a lot of time like on my own.
Which is good.
Some
people think that it's not good. But
it's good, but too much of it is also not good. So I've seen
too
both
much
sides.
Of everything is not good.
I've seen both sides for me. Like,
but some people fear even when they, like you said, it was inevitable that this is the course that the relationship is going to take. But some people fear to take that step because they fear being alone.
That is a very, very, very big reality. Yeah. At that point, because you are so used to having someone around, and now you're at a point where it's just you. Yeah. You know, kids are different. They're in their own worlds. You know, you need that social interaction with someone your own level. Age. Yeah, someone who kind of gets you. Someone who's got your back, you know. So you miss that. And I think getting on the divorce track, you find that you really don't have that same sort of support you'd get from someone. Yes, you have the friends around, but most of them normally are like trying to wonder how to interact with you. So they don't know how to kind of deal with you. And again, you don't want to come out always complaining, always being blah. So I think that's why a lot of people who go through this don't want to talk too much about it, because people just don't know how to handle it. Yeah. People don't know how they can't understand or like, you know, someone just said, no, just be strong. I'm hurt.
I I feel betrayed, or I feel whatever it is that you're feeling.
Literally, it's like, no, you feel like you're ripped out. Like, not even, let's even go beyond that. You're ripped out. Everything you knew is not the way it actually is. And that's the thing. People would tell me, no, I could be like this. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe I look a bit like uncaring sometimes. But ultimately, I've come to understand that what God believes about me, what God thinks about, what God says who I am, is who I am.
Right.
At the end of it all, I mean, people always say stuff about you, you know, and some of it we put too much importance in it when it doesn't really even say anything much about who you are. Yeah. So I think that's one good thing that came out of it.
Yeah.
It's really just grounding myself a bit more and just being able to move now with better purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So other than spending time with yourself, getting your relationship with God back on track, are there any other things that you've been purposeful about doing to reconnect with yourself, the real you?
I've gotten back to some of the interests I've had. I've always had this interest in culture, stories. I love reading books. I love listening to stories, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a bookworm. So I think for me it was the authenticity from the angle of my culture, my tradition. So I'm a lot into listening to African or Zambian stories in the native language. Though I need to get a bit of translation help in there. Yeah, so I think that's brought an interest because I mean those stories are really pure. And I listen to those stories we listened to when we used to grow up, and you're like, I shouldn't get into those, you know. So I mean, the one thing I always talk about is the Maikalange. You know the Maikalange story? I don't know if you remember it. Did you ever hear the Maikalange story?
No.
I mean, at one point you would have everybody knowing about, you know, Maikalange and all those things. And because it's like all of you know about the stories that we kind of listen to. So getting back and listening to those stories, even after hearing them when I was very young, I mean, it's brought a lot of meaning. So I love stories, a lot of vernacular, collecting and trying to retell them. Yeah, it's interesting. And then also, I take time. I love to swim. I love swimming. I'm kind of lousy with the gym, jogging, running,
But swimming is your thing.
Yeah, swimming. Probably because I knew how to swim when I was young.
Yeah.
Again, so at least it's
so
easy
you're
to me
reconnecting again.
Yes, to get back
with the old you.
Yeah.
The real you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just discovering more of that. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of your kids. I can imagine that you getting back in touch with yourself has been good for your kids to see, because as much as people fear making the decision to get a divorce because of the kids and how it will affect the kids, we forget that when we stay in a marriage that's not okay, it actually brings more injury to the children. So what are some ways that you've seen a positive impact on you reconnecting with you, falling back in love with yourself, and parenting from that perspective? How has that positively impacted your children?
I think in a way, me finding time to work on myself and finding a bit more solid meaning to why I do stuff, it's made me also realize that the kids are not mine to, like, you know, like kids are holding on everything. I have them for a season.
Yeah.
In that at one time they have to get out on their own.
Yeah.
You know.
So you mentioned friends. You talked about how, you know, when you are going through a divorce, one of the things that you miss is that companionship. And even though friends are there, they don't really feel that gap. But they're important, because I can imagine that if you didn't have friends, the gap would feel even bigger. And we got closer because you are part of our connection group, our cell group, which was specifically for married couples. Yeah. So when you went through what you went through, you then had to stop coming to the group, which was like, it was like another breakup.
I was out of place.
Yeah, because as much as we wanted to keep you there as long as we did,
couldn't stay.
You couldn't stay because it was all couple centered. So how did you then purposefully reconnect with either old friends or make new friends to try and fill that gap?
Good question. Because it's quite a deep one.
Yeah.
If I look at, let's say, friends, you know, when we were married, we had similar friends.
Yeah.
And remember, we were on campus together.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the 5+ years you had. So we had accumulated the same friends. So when the divorce happened, it was a matter of who's going where.
Picking sides now.
In a way, indirectly.
Yeah.
Or there are just certain people I'd know that if I like say certain things to them, it will get back. You see? Or it could be that I don't know what someone's place is in my life. They might be, you know, like maybe sharing certain stuff which is sensitive or something.
Yeah.
So I remember I had to even just shut down one of my Facebook pages and just said, you know what, I just want to start Facebook from scratch. I'm starting to send Facebook friends. You know, that's kind of what I was doing, because I realized that there were so many people in my life that probably I needed to kind of step away from.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't want to flash out those people who like were kind of contributing a lot. I think it was more of those people I'd had maybe a firmer foundation before. The marriage thing, because there are some friends I had before, and even if they became mutual friends, you find that you still have a lot in common, so you still kind of stick with those. But no, definitely when it comes to friends, a lot kind of just fell off, also because there was a phase probably when I think there was some sort of isolation during the marriage leading to the divorce. There was a lot of isolating from friends, so some naturally dropped off there. By the time you're going through this stuff, and then again you start going back to the friends who you like, drop off. It's a bit like awkward. So I think it's been more of a challenge to make new friends. But then at my age, you don't need too many friends, really. You know what I mean? I think one or two maybe you can talk to deeply would suffice. You know, and also connecting with people who are going through a similar situation as yourself. There's that program at church, the divorce recovery thing. That has helped, because then I'm like, oh, so we've been going through the same thing with this person. Like, I'm not the only person. So you find that I've connected. I've had one or two I've really like just hit it off with, and I'm like, whoa, you know, and you just start doing stuff together. So there's been an opportunity to make new friends, and also just an opportunity to just let some go without any hard feelings, really. I don't even feel hard sometimes, like, no, this person gets along more with nah. I think I'm at a point where friendships, I don't need so many. At the same time, probably I would need a bit more friends. You know, because I'm not so so intentional about making friends. You kind of just have to fall into place. I'm not gonna go out and say I'm making.
I want to be your friend.
I want to be your friend. Can you be my pen pal?
It has to be organic.
It has to be organic. You know, it has to flow.
Okay. So let's talk money. After having the additional income, obviously when you're married, you're a dual income home, right? And then after the divorce, then you have that gap. So how have you navigated your finances? How have you made sure that you still have what you need, your kids still have what they need? How have you reprioritized certain things in order to balance that gap?
I think on the issue of finances, definitely it helps a lot when you're married, because, you know, like putting finances together with someone really pushes you further. You know, you achieve quite a lot.
In a short space of time.
In a short space of time. And you also push each other. You also challenge each other. So a marriage that is thriving, there's a lot of that sort of positive growth. When you now have to step away and now you're doing things on your own, well, there are cons. In fact, like, you have to literally find ways of stretching your income that you have. But I think there are a lot of positives in a way. One, number of people is cut. Decision making is lessened. Because, you know, that sometimes you'd go into a shop and you're like asking, baby, do you want bread? When you want bread. But, you know, the way you're asking, it's like, you know, because you kind of wait for that person to kind of make decisions. But this has like allowed me to take possession of my decisions. So when I go into a place, I'm making something, I will think like, okay, if I do this, then this, okay, I'm already balancing in my mind, you know. So it's made me realize that I've got the capability of planning, because I was always bad with money.
Right.
I was not the person who was dealing with the money.
Right.
I'd always, even if I have money, I would dump it on another person, and then everything will end up getting sorted out, and all. It's made me realize that I can take care of my finances.
Right.
And like before, where I thought not that I was even deliberate about that thought, but you just run away from making certain decisions because you know someone else is going to deal with it. Yeah. So it has helped me depend more on myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What about co-parenting? How have you navigated raising your two beautiful children with your ex?
Co-parenting, well, that's always a work in progress, really, right? Because we're still all growing.
Yeah.
And I think it had to reach a point where there was no more bitterness from the divorce. I mean, the one thing I do also accept is the fact that when the divorce happened, we all had our own ways of dealing with it, you know. There was a lot of fighting back, you know, like a lot of friction, you know, especially when you know that this person is not in your camp, but there's certain things you have to deal with together, like the issue of kids. You still have to interact with these people.
Yeah.
But how close should you keep them so that you effectively take care of these kids together?
Yeah.
It's of course meant that some things you just have to kind of take charge and deal with. But I think for me it's a lot more of work in progress. It's really just trying to find where our lives kind of just settle in so that we're not being a negative influence on the other side.
Yeah.
And I think with the kids also, it's good to be open with the kids. I think early on I realized that I had to be real with the kids. I had to tell them, you guys, mommy and daddy are not getting along, you know. So there's certain things probably which might not work out the way you might want it, but we'll do everything we can to see what we can do for you, you know. So they had to kind of know what is happening. And because again, kids might start blaming themselves. They might start thinking they're the ones to blame.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of really be deliberate about being open to them.
Okay.
And also just allowing them to, like right now, I think they'll be able to like talk, they can WhatsApp, they can talk. Because I reached a point where initially I used to tell myself, I'm not going to get the kids phones. And I would always like, it was like kind of a thing, no, until you're 16 or 18, you can handle a phone, you know what I mean? But then when the divorce happened, I realized it's something that I had to also shift. I realized that it was going to be necessary for them to have a sort of a way of communicating without me sometimes standing in the way, you know, or emotions standing in the way.
Yeah.
So I've kind of tried to allow that, the constant messaging, the talking if they can with their father. Yeah. So it's not like I'm going to like cut up and like stick to some of the rules I had before. Some rules I've had to like just adjust slightly because nothing is really cast in steel.
Yeah.
So I've seen the benefits of that, and that at least they'll have their own space when it comes to dealing with the dad in that
rather
way.
than him calling using your phone.
That one was not going to work at a certain point.
Yeah.
I had to let go of that one working, you know, because it also, and time I really was dealing with with a lot of stuff in which came out because of the divorce. Those were like trigger items. Just hearing someone's voice, you feel like, you know. So I think I had to like just let go of some other things and say, okay, fine. In us dealing with this the best way possible, let me let the kids at least have that. But the co-parenting is a work in progress because the kids, and anyway, the kids are also growing old. So I mean, they're older now, and I think I've also allowed the kids sometimes to be making their own decisions. If the child insists they want to go see the dad, I let them go and all those things. It's just an issue of, you know, that we're still different individuals. So my way of doing things might be different from his way of doing things. So that's where the clashing normally comes. Yeah, I might be maybe more strict, maybe because I spend more time with them. And maybe he might be a bit softer, you know, so maybe they're fine thinking that, oh, this is now where we can go and break. So sometimes you really have to balance that. But I think it's also brought in that thing, I understand that my space, my house, I can control what is in that space. Whatever goes on in that house, really, I can't control in a way, right? I can't control. It's really the other person's responsibility to take care of those things. But what I can do is I can try and influence the kids to also know what is good, what is bad, what is, you know, what they can at least step a bit into, because in the end the kids can make the decision. So even if they're in a healthy, let's say, environment, themselves they'll be able to say, no, I think this is not good, I should not do this, or no, okay, I would choose. So I think that's an easier way of dealing with it. It's really just about the kids.
Awesome.
It's really just about the kids. Yeah. So if the kids are uncomfortable with something, I'll listen. I'll try and listen, but again, not to starting wars on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about bitterness, and I want you to share with us how you have navigated making sure that bitterness doesn't take root in your heart. What are some things you've had to do, maybe let go of, purpose to forgive yourself and even, your ex, to make sure that bitterness doesn't begin to grow in your heart?
After spending, how many years were we married? Like, okay, let's say on average, if you spend about 10 years married to someone, and the stuff you've done together, and then you start thinking, after what I did, what I put in, you know what I mean? But I also realized that it was coming from a point where it's like you're trying to own someone or something about them. Like you were doing things based from, how am I going to benefit from it? And then now you're at a point where you're no longer together. And then now you have to be like, after all that we did, it comes and really haunts and works on you. And in the initial stages, it's okay to go through some of these things. It's okay to be bitter. It's okay to be angry.
Yeah.
It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be, even just to, lose your temper once in a while. Sometimes you just need to let it work. Because you're grieving. It's the same. It's almost the same as you having lost you losing something. It's something that you need to kind of just get in, experience, but deal with. The trick here is dealing with it in a healthy way, and not just covering it up and then just hoping everything is going to work out and it will be fine. So the bitterness is there, because remember, you did spend quite a lot of time with this person. So it's normal for you to be bitter. But then again, I looked at the fact that, in as much as this person, whether, and the thing is, both of you are hurt, regardless of who wronged who did what. The fact is, both of you are hurt in your own way, in some way, because you're both being, it's like the marriage is being cut, two individuals. There's going to be a cut of some sort. So you reach a point where you start thinking that God is going to be favoring you. You know what I mean? Like, we are thinking, no, God, but me, do this for me. And you're forgetting that
the other person is also a child of God.
Yes, also a child of God. He's also got their interests at heart. So you need to reach that point where you accept that and realize that you cannot be selfish for God's love. You need to also recognize the fact that the way he's soothing you, the way he's dealing with you, the way he's comforting you, the same way he's doing for the other person.
Right. And that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. So why should you even be feeling bitter, even like, let's say, when another person starts excelling? Maybe their work or their whatever it is they're doing, or maybe away from you.
They get into a new relationship.
Another relationship. You're like, now you want them to be what? To be sad the whole.
Alone.
No, let them shine. And you're not making those, is it the fire? the by fire, by shine. It's God's child. So I think the realization that regardless of my hurt, yes, the person hurt me, I hurt the person, but God still loves us. And I think we need to get back to what life is about. It's about God. We go through stuff. So we just have to kind of just get up and move on. Because, divorce, I think people want to make it look like something sacred, like they want to make it look like, divorce, this person does. But really, everyone goes through problems. Everyone goes through issues. Divorce should not identify you. Divorce should not be the one which says that you're going to be like this, you're going to be accepted like this. I'm Wankumbu. Me.
A child of God.
A child of God. And that is the first thing that that's where your identity is, being a child of God. That's where my identity is, the fact that I'm a child of God, on top of everything. Whether I'm rich, I'm poor, I've got this job, I've got what, I'm a child of God. So I really had to get that into my head. And I think that really helped a lot with issues with bitterness.
Yeah.
You know, before when I started talking about my divorce, in fact, I never even used to talk about it first. I was just in that zone of, no one should mention anything, you know. And probably if I see someone acting all romantic, whatever, I think I'll also just get like
put off,
you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's at a point now where I can talk about certain things, talk about even my experiences with my ex-spouse, you know, talk about this without necessarily having to feel like my BP is going up or I'm about to faint or have, you know, the things sometimes we go through, you know. But yeah, no, I believe those things were necessary for me to go through.
Awesome.
But at the end of it all, as I said, get back to who you are. Get on your feet, find out who you are. There's more to life.
So, speaking of new relationships, what are your thoughts about dating, remarrying, and have you been on a date since your divorce? You don't have to mention any names. You don't have to. Just have you been on a date since the divorce, and how did it go?
What qualifies for a date?
A coffee or a dinner or a...
No, I've been on dates.
Okay.
I've definitely been on dates
Nice.
after. I think just after the divorce was not a very healthy time for me to go on a date because it's like kind of looking for the rebound, you know. You're trying to look for that consolation that who you are is still important. So sometimes it can really end you up in really funny situations. Yeah. Long story on that one. So you need to heal. You need to reach that point where now, I've got a friend I knew, no names mentioned,
yes.
and he actually told me, Wankumbu, you have changed. Because the way you used to react, like this certain, like, you know, maybe just mention the person's name or just say something, you'd be so like emotional about it. But then now, you can even talk about it calmly, you know. Yeah. So there are those different phases we go through. You need to reach that point where you are healed. And you're not going into looking for another person, coming from that angle of they need to fill this gap, they need to fill this empty space, you know. The space they should fill in should be a natural space, not the one which is caused by the divorce and the other people being, you know.
Right.
Yep. So I think but it's a lot of work, man. Dating, it was so much simpler in my 20s and the teens, you know.
Yeah.
Life was so simple then. I mean, to my glycerin, you know, someone buys it to my lotion, shiny, you're done.
Send you to my dedication.
To my letters.
What? Yes. Now these days, tell us about it.
These days, you don't know who's married. You don't know who's single. You don't know who's ready.
Right.
Who's dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
There's so many things you don't really, you're dealing with. So you find that, and bring in COVID as well. COVID has been bad for the dating.
Yeah, the dating scene
and just
has
getting
hit
to know
hard
people.
With COVID, right?
Yeah. I think just getting to know people because you don't have that opportunity to meet people. So now you've got, okay, at least COVID is passing. So I think dating is getting back a bit, you know. Yep. So I think in terms of dating, it's been a road where you really have to relearn a lot of things because you didn't think you were going to be down the road of dating. Yeah. And you have to start seeing the way people will act, that to my habits.
Am I ready for this?
Am I ready? But I'm less tolerant though. Seriously, I mean, there's some things. Then if I'd seen those things, I'd be like,
it's okay, I can live with it.
Now I think I'm like,
no.
Seriously, are we doing this?
Yes. But how do you feel about possibly getting remarried? Is that something that you're open to?
I'd love to get remarried. Okay. I'm a very romantic person. Okay. You know, I believe in romance. You know, when I was growing up, I used to read all romance books, very romantic, shiny. I still believe in that. I just don't believe in love at first sight. Well, that has changed. I think you still need to really put in a bit of your mind, not just go with the heart. You need to be a bit more practical. Yeah. And I do believe that one day I'll get married again. Because companionship is good. Yeah. I'd love that. I'd love someone to have my back, spend life with, do old age with, you know. Just go through the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wind down, I want you to talk to two groups of people. The first group of people are maybe in a situation where they're contemplating divorce, or they're in that space where they've started the process. and they're dealing with all those emotions that you talked about. They're dealing with that, the separation, the cutting that you mentioned. What would you have to say to such a person to encourage them and to let them know that there's life after going through this? Yeah.
I think to those who are like contemplating going through divorce, like you've got that thought, firstly, try all you can. Because you don't want to look back after you've done all those things and then realize that, you know what, I wish I'd stayed. It's rough. It's rougher out here. I know it's rough where, like, you know, past the, like, getting into the divorce stage, but it's worse if you haven't done your best where you're coming from. Because I believe that you can manage to get a marriage which is going downhill still saved. You know, it needs two people who are willing to work on it. But if you've reached the point where you accept the fact that, you know what, we're not getting anywhere, and you're uncertain because of the how grey things look on the other side, life does not end at you being married. You know, there's more to life than just putting your identity in marriage or thinking that someone else defines who you are. You know, I think find yourself. The minute you find yourself, believe me, you'll be already halfway to succeeding. You know, life can only get better, really. Life can only get better. Because if you're in a nasty situation, you have to get up and just look at ways to heal yourself. How are you going to be healed? Who are you going to talk to? And surround yourself with friends who are positive in a way, regardless of which direction you want to go in. But they should be there to also like challenge you. You know, they should be able to push you if they see you going in the wrong direction and say, you know what? You know, you just need to candid people around you.
Yeah.
Candid, you know, they shouldn't be treating like as if you're like, you know, very sensitive.
Telling you what you want to hear and things
no. You don't need to stick to just what you want to hear. Sometimes you just need to kind of hear another person's perspective, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And for the second group of people, maybe they're engaged or they're in a very committed relationship and they're talking about marriage. They're in that honeymoon phase of what could be the possibilities of this next chapter that we want to start. What advice would you give them to think about before getting into marriage that you wish someone had told you before you got married?
I wish someone had told me that getting married was not the end. You get my point? Like you have reached.
You have arrived.
When you're getting married, you're arriving. You've reached. You know, you've reached the promised land. You know.
Oh my gosh.
It's happily ever after. Marriage is a start. When you get married, it's a start. And I think you need to really work on your foundation. You need to be very intentional about making sure it's going to work. Because sometimes you can you can take things for granted. You can take the other person for granted. And end up in a direction that probably will lead you to getting divorced or being miserable in your marriage. Marriage is a good thing. It's a good thing if done correctly. You need to really understand why are you getting married. And not just from, no, my body feels shy, you know, this guy just, you know. No, I mean, look at the purpose that God has for marriage. Understand that purpose. And know the part that you're going to play in that purpose when it comes to marriage. Because marriage is going to be two people who are now going to have a larger impact. You know, it won't even be doubled. It will be more than doubled.
Yeah.
You know, one, yes, you can have very good impacts in your individual lives, but when you come together, you are there for a much bigger dream, for a much bigger purpose than you can ever imagine. So marriage is a very good thing. And be very intentional every single time. Don't take it for granted, you know. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, don't stop doing what you're supposed to be doing, your work, your part.
The work.
Yeah, work on your marriage. Still be romantic.
You know, keep working on yourself, I guess, individually.
Exactly.
You don't lose who you are just because you've gotten married.
Because yes, and that's another key. Remain true to yourself. Remain true to yourself. because if you are not okay, if you're not being true, you're also affecting the other person.
Yeah.
And you both fail.
Yeah.
You won't be able to have as large an impact as you would have if you were both in a good place.
A healthy space.
Yeah. In a marriage, you're there to build each other.
Yeah.
You're there to push each other, you know. You're supposed to challenge your friend. You're supposed to let them reach limits they didn't think they could reach. And you are there to help cushion that.
Yeah.
If they fall, you're there to catch them. So marriage is a very good thing. For me, I would love to get married. I'd love to get married and have a marriage which is true in God's eyes. You know, I want me to do marriage in a different way from the way I did it. It's not just about me, it's about your needs, my needs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wankumbu, for taking the time to be here, to talk to all the famous warriors out there, for sharing your story, for being vulnerable, and I hope that this video encourages somebody out there, that it challenges you, that it gets you to ask certain questions that maybe you didn't think about, or it helps you to see things from a different perspective. And from Wankumbu and myself, we want to remind you that every day we get to fight is a privilege, and you are worth the fight.